Following my video about what Catherine of Aragon actually did for England as Queen, somebody wanted me to do the same thing but for Mary I. As you know, Mary I is often depicted as this ruthless ruler who burnt many Protestants at the stake and is remembered throughout history as Bloody Mary. This nickname, as well as her bad reputation, stems from a lot of Protestant propaganda which came after her reign, during the reign of her Protestant sister Elizabeth I, but this video isn't about clearing her name. This video is about the good things that she did as Queen of England. Mary Tudor was the eldest surviving child of Henry VIII with his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, and she was England's very first acknowledged Queen Regnant, the first woman to wear the crown of England. And it was a situation that her father Henry VIII went through great lengths to try to avert. In unprecedented circumstances, Mary proved more than capable. She was courageous and politically accomplished, and her reign redefined the contours of English monarchy, proving that queens could rule just as well as kings. It is fair to say that she wasn't the greatest queen of all time. It is fair to say that she leaned heavily on her husband Prince Philip of Spain to help her rule the country. However, before she got married to Prince Philip of Spain, Mary had much of the Catholic and Protestant support within the country. And even when the people were offered the Lady Jane Grey as a Protestant queen instead of Mary I, the country rallied for support for Mary. And that included many Protestants. And though Lady Jane Grey was a victim in the crossfire, Mary I was able to secure the crown for the Tudor line, which in essence led to Elizabeth I's reign. Being the first ever Queen Regnant in a deeply patriarchal society meant that Mary really had to establish herself as a female monarch. Since the dawn of time, the language, image, and expectations of an English monarchy was unequivocally male, and the rights of a Queen Regnant were a matter of great uncertainty. Mary's accession changed the rules entirely. And so, in April 1554, Mary's Parliament passed the Act of Regal Power, which enshrined in law that queens held power as fully and wholly as their male predecessors, and thereby establishing the gender-free authority of the crown. Mary's coronation saw her accepting the full regalia of a male monarch, thereby showing that the office of a crowned monarch was not limited to gender. Following her coronation, it was of course expected of her to marry and produce an heir, and though her marriage to Prince Philip of Spain is often referred to as disastrous, at the time this was the most favourable union for the interest and security of an even greater England. Following Henry VIII's and Edward VI's reigns, Mary inherited a broken country with a really depleted military, navy and economic system, and she's the one who began rebuilding the navy, reorganising the militia, and reconstructing the economy and laying the foundation for the reform of the coinage. New markets for exports were developed, and many hospitals were re-endowed by Mary, including the Savoy Hospital in London. Mary proved to be a hard-working and conscientious queen, who was determined to be closely involved in the government business and policy-making. Mary was then, and is beginning to now, be heralded as a courageous queen, educated to rule and politically determined. It is only during the Protestant reign of Elizabeth I that propaganda emerged to slander Mary's name, and many historians now believe that had she lived longer, her initiatives in religion and finance would have come to fruition. Nevertheless, her early death in the midst of a flu epidemic, shortly after the loss of Calais, ensured that Mary's reputation was fatally sealed. But before all that, her reign was going well. And by securing the throne, Mary ensured that the crown continued along the Tudor line of succession. As the first Queen Regnant of England, she redefined royal law and ritual, thereby establishing that a female ruler, married or unmarried, would enjoy identical power to that of a king. And whether you like it or not, Mary's reign redefined English monarchy. Her successor, Elizabeth I, had the advantage of being the second female ruler, who was able to learn from Mary's few mistakes and build on the foundations that Mary had laid. Though of course Elizabeth would never acknowledge that.